Hello and welcome to the first ever edition of the Twin Cities Real Estate Pros podcast. My name is Ron Johnson with RE/MAX Advantage Plus. David Nelson is also a licensed real estate agent with RE/MAX Advantage Plus. We'll hear from Aaron Vang. He's a lender with Bell Mortgage. Purpose of the show to hopefully give you some valuable information in the Twin Cities market, whether you're looking to buy, sell, maintain your home, anything that have to do with home ownership, home buying, home selling. That's what the purpose of our podcast is here for. So once again, my name's Ron. David is here, and David, you're kind of, I guess, our Lakeville expert. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your business, your clients, and what you've got going on?
Well, first off, we're out of the Lakeville office here at RE/MAX Advantage Plus, and if you're a Lakeville resident, Lakeville buyer, you would be a fool not to use us down here because we kind of know the area. This is our cup of tea, and the Lakeville market is really hot right now. Inventory is extremely low. We're sitting about 3.5 month inventory of homes for sale. So if you're looking at the average homes, it's 6 months is an even market. So definitely seller's market. Homes are selling for a higher price. The days on the market are dropping, and currently we're less homes for sale this time of year than it was last year. So if you're thinking of selling your house, man, you got to contact us because it is a seller's market here in Lakeville.
Yeah, and I guess I'm a little more nomadic. You can find me anywhere from, say, Lakeville to Blaine. So whether you're looking, I live in Golden Valley myself. I also own a rental property in St. Paul. So far this year, I've sold houses in South Minneapolis, Crystal. I've got a listing coming on in Blaine. So I guess if you need help from the Imperial Home Team, we've got you covered pretty much from anywhere. All throughout the Twin Cities. So that's a really good thing about our team. Even not too long ago, you and I kind of teamed up where you sold a listing for a client in Lakeville.
Correct.
Who was looking to buy a new house in Plymouth or Edina. So you called me to say, hey, can you help them out? And of course, they bought in Savage.
Why not?
Why not? But
Looking at Plymouth, why wouldn't you go to Savage?
Why wouldn't you go to Savage? But either way, I was able to help them out. So the point being is that the Imperial Home Team and RE/MAX Advantage Plus, we've got you covered throughout the Twin Cities area, whether you're looking to buy or sell. And if you're somebody who really wants somebody who's a hardcore market expert in a particular area, we've got a variety of agents that can help you throughout the Twin Cities.
And we're all full time too.
Yeah.
So this is what we do for a living. If we're not hobby real estate agents. This is how we pay our mortgage and feed our families.
Sure. And as we sit here today, it's March 1st, 2016. But you could be listening to the show or watching the show at any time. So we're going to tell you about some things that we've got going on currently, but also with the understanding that some of these things are good for the entire market. And I've got a brand new listing that's going to be listed today up in Blaine for $429,900. It's about 5,400 square feet, 5 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, Crescent Ponds area of Blaine, which is kind of near the Coon Rapids border, if you're familiar with where Blaine High School is, on the north end of University Avenue. It's a beautiful house built by Pulte back in 2007. So that one's coming on today. I'll have an open house this Sunday. So it's a really exciting house. It's huge, tons of rooms. It's got a master bathroom with 2 walk-in closets that you won't be able to believe. The deck looks out over a beautiful pond. And for the price per square foot, to be able to get 5,400 square feet at under $425,000 is pretty good.
That's
so
extreme.
I'm excited about that.
Looks like I'll be moving to Blaine.
Yeah, so there you go. We'll take your offer here in a little bit.
If you're looking to sell
You
your
better
house,
hurry because if it's getting on, we're going to have to rush.
If you're looking to sell your house, we can help you.
You can help me with that.
Help
Perfect.
you out with that.
Yeah,
So what
that's
do
good.
you have going on right now, David?
Well, we've got a couple of great listings actually in Lakeville. We've got one coming on the first part of May that I'm not going to talk too much about right now because it's kind of under wraps, but it's going to be in the Brackett's Crossing area, 5 bedrooms. It's on a pond, but not as nice as your pond, but It's definitely an awesome place. That's going to be around 460, quiet neighborhood. But we've got a lot of things brewing, so just pay attention, keep up with us because we've got things coming down the pipeline.
Sure. We're going to bring in Aaron Vang here in just a little bit with Bell Mortgage, and also some buyer needs going on. Obviously, there's so little inventory that you have so many buyers out there, and it's really hard for some of them to find exactly what they want. Some buyer things I've got going on in St. Louis Park, because again, I'll go anywhere.
Back to that nomad piece.
Yeah, a custom built home that was a tear down. Guys building it from the ground up, get to pick everything that he wanted basically from their basic floor model. He's going to customize it. There's going to be a speakeasy in the basement with a cigar room and a wine room. Totally
so many things are running through my head.
So that's another option. Obviously, if you can't find a house that's existing, go ahead and build one.
Right.
So that's an option there too. A couple other buyer needs I've got going on. Obviously, South Minneapolis. I've got a couple of people looking at South Minneapolis, which everybody at a certain demographic age wants to live in South Minneapolis, where kind of the cool hip things are going on. So I've got a couple of people looking there. Another guy I've got looking up to about 325 or so, anywhere from, he's looking for pretty much from Blaine, Maple Grove, Brooklyn Park, Golden, but anywhere basically west of 35E.
So pretty much Lakeville then?
Yep.
Sounds like you got a place in Blaine. It's just another $100,000. We can take care of
exactly.
that.
He's got some. He's looking for which is a new term, really, kind of a multi-generational type house to be able to set up for what his family needs. You got anybody out there particular looking for some hard to find things?
I do. Apple Valley and Lakeville have got 3 people looking for 1-level Ramblers.
Okay.
And they are like a unicorn.
Yeah.
That's being ridden by a leprechaun.
Riding down
They're
a rainbow,
really hard to find.
Skittles.
So if anybody has a Rambler,
really good point.
main level living, please let us know, because we've got buyers lined up for these houses.
Where could they reach you at?
612-986-4670.
Very nice.
We'll have the number on the screen, or I'll go to our website too, TwinCitiesRealEstatePros.com.
Very nice.
Yeah. And obviously, unless you've got a pile of cash in your pocket, if you want to buy a house, you need to get a mortgage.
Correct.
Barring some other sort of special financing. That's why we have Aaron Vang here. So the general purpose of the show is not only for David and I to talk about ourselves, but it's also for us to provide
like doing.
Thank
valuable
goodness.
information.
Thank goodness we'd be here forever.
Information to our home buyers and sellers.
Sure.
And obviously, a huge step in the process, and I would recommend it should be your first step in the process, is talk to a lender. And you're going to talk a little bit about pre-approval, what that means, what you need to do, and the different steps throughout.
Yeah, I think, first off, thank you both for having me. I appreciate it, having me on the show and being able to share this with the people out there.
On the interweb?
On the interweb, yeah. A couple of things as far as the Imperial Home Team goes. I want to speak just a little bit about the professionalism and the background that you have of being able to take a listing such as the one that you have in Lakeville coming up that's kind of under wraps, but you're already working ahead to get that for people. And I think a lot of the team is very intuitive on finding that type of stuff. So I think it's very important, first off, and I'll get to this pre-approval part, but that they're notified and a good team to work with when you're in a special situation or might be just thinking about it. They've got really good ways of being able to help you get it listed and look for a different property. So that would kind of help us with the inventory issue,
Yeah.
On the pre-qualification side, Ron, I think what I'd like to do is talk a little bit about versus a pre-approval versus a pre-qualification. And you'll get different people that will say different things. Different mortgage people will reverse it and things of that nature. Pre-qualification is something where we might have somebody that gives us their background, such as their social security number, date of birth, their income. A lot of people get their checks and a big thing is net versus gross, and they'll put in the net, and those are some of the things that we got to work through. The pre-qualification is getting estimated information, such as estimated bank information. Not a lot of people have their account numbers and things like that available. So you're giving estimates on the amount that you have in there and what you'll be using for your closing. Some of the things that we might estimate is what you guys will sell their house for and how much they'll net when they go to buy the next house. The difference between a pre-qualification, and this is my definition and the one that we use with Bell here locally in the region, is that whether it's an online app or a phone app, we're taking that basic information. We're putting that into the system and getting results based on electronic information from the 2 top underwriting softwares that we use. Now, I would highly recommend, and worked with David in the past, is that we verify those things, such as the step from pre-qualification to pre-approval. Your pre-qualification, we're going to be able to actually take that information. We're going to actually get it to Ron or David or whoever we might be dealing with, and we're able to generate a pre-approval or a pre-qualification letter. Now, it is always my policy to get you pre-approved, and what I mean by that is we're taking the information that you've given me via the phone or meeting and including the accurate information that goes with it, such as your full bank statements, such as your W-2s or your tax returns, a copy of your driver's license, copy of your pay stubs, copy of any asset statement that you might be using during this transaction to actually use the funds towards the purchase. Once I have verified all those physical copies, I can then know for a fact that you can go out and make an offer on a property and without hesitation be able to purchase that property.
So like a pre-qual is kind of like an estimate almost.
Yeah.
And pre-approval is like you've got the real deal, the information's there, the
Right.
numbers are right.
And to benefit you,
No, I was going to say, that essentially what you're saying is not all pre-approvals, pre-qualifications are created equally.
correct.
Somebody may just ask for a social security number, run your credit, and say, hey, how much money you make? I make $75,000.
Right.
Bam, you're approved for $300,000.
Yeah, go get a house. Right.
And then you find out on the back end, okay, well, you don't actually make $75,000. You
Right.
only make $72,000, which for some people that
Could be
small
a huge difference.
Could be a huge
You
difference.
could be a difference between
If you're-
43 ratios and 45, and that's technical, but a
Yes.
40 over a 45 would be a non-approved situation on a
Right.
conventional
Yeah,
loan.
and then where you run into a problem, you get the offer accepted, and then the underwriting, you fall through. You find out the purchase actually falls through.
Yep.
Or when you're negotiating the offer, if it gets to $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 different of what you thought you were pre-approved for, then maybe you don't actually get that house.
Yep.
So
And
essentially, what you're saying is it's important to know all those things
Correct.
as much as possible up front.
Yes.
Versus just kind of a generic.
Yep.
Sure.
I would highly recommend that is the case in the situation of sometimes your dream home, your move-up dream home, your cabin, your first-time home buyer situation. It's an absolute must that stuff is in place. This process can be very stressful during that time. We want to alleviate that completely within days. So that here are the numbers, here's exactly what you're talking about. And as a team, once you're pre-approved, again, verifying the income, verifying the assets, verifying the W-2s and all that information, then we know that we by far are ready to go. In today's market, such as David was speaking about in Lakeville, with the inventory being as low as it is, it's imperative that you have that pre-approval. Because once you know, and your real estate agent knows, that offer now becomes to that seller the most important thing that they're going to go with. On a multi-offer situation, yours floats to the top because you have pre-approved yourself and not just pre-qualified yourself.
And even like I do a lot of listings. And if I'm getting multiple offers and someone comes in, it's like, here's your pre-approval letter, and someone comes in with a pre-qualification letter, that pre-approval letter holds a lot more weight.
Right.
So I'm going to, look at that one stronger than like a pre-qualified, because I can go on any website and get pre-qualified, and I can lie about everything, and I can buy a $30 million house,
Yep.
which I can't.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not
Yeah,
yet.
Yeah, we'll see if this podcast boosts your business.
Yeah.
Maybe you can. But also important, something I try to stress to my buyers when I initially meet with them: have you talked to a lender? Oh yeah, I talked to this guy, or maybe yes or no, or do you have your pre-approval letter? And they kind of wait, and then they want to go see some houses. But there's somebody else walking in that house that's got their pre-approval letter ready to go,
Correct.
so they can go home and write their offer. Where you have to then go ahead and contact your lender and work through some things. And by the time you have your things together, the house is gone.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree. The paradigm itself has shifted quite a bit. I've been in the business for going on 16 years, and it was the time before rules and different things have changed.
It's our first show, so we'll work on turning down the cell phones.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Not sure whose that is.
I'm not sure.
I think
Is
that
it
might be
Ron?
our, might be our
It
host.
might be mine.
It might be our host.
Oh, you mean our former host?
Yeah.
It was our former host, Ron's. But the paradigm shift has changed over the years. That you have, you'd get your information and a pre-qualification setting, and everybody would just be like out. The inventory was in 2005, 6. It was all over the place. And if you had to, you'd just back up and go, well, we've got these other parachutes out there. If we can't do it the way we thought we were going to do it, we'll do it another way. Those days are long gone.
Thank God.
And you have to have your stuff in a row, or your ducks in a row, so that you know for a fact that when you make that offer on that property, you're not going, sorry, we went with the person that was pre-qualified. We know that all their assets and everything had been verified, versus, you filled it out at, mortgagecity.com or whatever. So that is imperative, in my opinion, in today's market and for the future, that you have all that information taken care of.
So start taking us through the steps. So somebody comes and sits down with you and says, "Hey, Aaron, I want to buy a house." Just kind of, what do they need to have with them? What kind of information do you need up front, and how's that process
So
work?
we'll start typically, depending on the client's needs. So timing is an issue and things of that nature. If we've got a few weeks or months, we'll schedule time over a phone call. We'll talk a little bit about their goals associated with the financing. But to get down to the nuts and bolts, you're going to have all your financials in a row. You're going to have your pay stubs. You're going to have your driver's license or something of a state ID. You're going to have your employee's address, your employee's name, what your work history has been for the last 2 years. If it's changed, we got to know if it's changed from being a plumber to going to an accountant. That's going to change things as well. So your 2-year active work history has to be consistent. You're going to have assets to back up any amount that we might talk about for a down payment. Bank statements, retirement accounts, 401ks, anything that you might use in that transaction, you're going to need full statements, meaning from page 1 to page 101. And it really doesn't matter in today's world if the last 10 pages are blank. If it's 1 to 101, we need all 101 pages. So those, along with your any debts that you might have, we'll get from pulling your credit. We'll associate all those and take the gross amount of income based off your pay stubs. And last but not least, now this is a W-2 situation for somebody that might be working in that type of situation. We'll need that and their tax returns for the last 2 years. We used to be able to just get W-2s, but now we're required to get tax returns as well. There are some things that can, let me back up. I used to get them anyway, because there's always something in there, a little side job that they do. Maybe they do a gardening, or they're a chef, or something that they write off even though they're a W-2 employee. That can inhibit them from doing that. So once we have all that information, we take that, it's uploaded into our system, then we have our full pre-approval based off of all the accurate information. Timing, getting back to that, if we're talking about somebody that's doing an online application, for example, the majority of people we work with in today's world would like to do an online application. Once all that is set, we upload an informational tool to them that allows you to understand exactly what we need as far as copies, back to the W-2s and the pay stubs and all that information. And then we verify that, and then the pre-approval is generated that way. And then it's pretty much ready, let's shop. Ready, set, shop, and they're out with you guys. There's somebody on the team trying to find a property that they have in mind. If they have one in mind, it is great that they were able to get an offer in without this process ahead of time. But it is, in today's world, you will see anywhere from 30 to 45 days from a start to finish.
So start from like offer to?
To offer to the actual date. And that's due to some changes, and we'll have other podcasts about those legalities.
Trade and things that people don't know what they mean. Things
Correct.
Like that.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
Yeah.
But frankly, getting back to that, you're literally looking at when we do the pre-qualification, when we have all your legitimate information and it's ready to go, we can cut that in half. We're still very fast, because that is another reason to get pre-qualified versus or pre-approved versus pre-qualified. Sure. You're going to cut your time. And once a listing agent, and you know this as well, if you can close on that, sooner, your clients are that much happier. And then, in turn, getting more listings.
And just by listening to you, there's a lot of information that buyers need to provide. Mm-hmm. So you can tell, like what Ron was talking about earlier, if you go and say, let's go look at houses today, we found a house we like, let's write an offer, that pre-approval is not going to be a 5-minute ordeal.
No.
It's going to be time consuming. So if you don't go out prepared and have that pre-approval in hand before you even look at houses, it's kind of a waste of time right now. It's a multiple offers,
Agreed.
Low inventory.
Yep.
Houses are selling before they hit the market. So again, you have to get pre-approved.
Yep. You want to make sure that all that is put together. On a business situation, if you're a business owner, now we're looking at a caveat of adding business returns to that information as well. And everybody knows that might own a business, that those can be very difficult to weather through, and that can take some time as well.
Sure.
So you can see the time and the information needed to get a pre-approval versus a pre-qualification is extreme.
One, complaint, which I hear from a lot of buyers is, okay, I already gave them all this information. Why do I have to give them this other stuff?
Sure.
And basically I say, if you want to buy the house, you have to listen to what your lender is telling you
very good.
that he or she needs. And whether it's you or the underwriter or the processor or whoever it is.
Yeah.
But so explain, okay, I gave you all this stuff. Mm-hmm. Why do you need more stuff?
Yep. So that can go numerous amounts of different ways. The most common one is due to the amount of information that we need. And me telling people that many times, life gets in the way. So when I say I need 1 through 101 when it comes to a statement, if that's how long the statement is, sometimes they'll send, you know, the only first 10 pages because that's all the information is on there. But the reality is that we need the full statement. So sometimes we have to go back and go, I've got, or it could be a technical problem with scanning and things of that nature. I've only got 1 through 10. I need 1 through 101, and I keep using the 101 reference. It's a little, you know, inflated,
excessive,
but it makes sense. But that's some of the reason that we have to go back and get that additional information. Whether something didn't make it into an attachment is another reason. We'll go through the information and we'll see that we need some additional stuff. It is quite possible to people keep things in different areas where you'll have W-2s and retirement, and you'll get that information, and due to life getting in the way again, they forget to send the driver's license and the bank statements. So that's a big common one. Once we have that, and my team and I make sure that we have everything before we actually submit it to the underwriter, which we can get into that. That's a whole other show as well. But
Stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned for more information. Once we have that, it is always something that we make them well aware of, that you're going to need additional information. We've done everything we possibly can to meet the underwriter's criteria. But in today's world, they also have the judgment on their license whether this is going to be an approvable loan or not. And if they ask for another pay stub, even though we're still not 30 days out, due to maybe it's a commission situation or whatever it might be, they're going to ask for that. And I think if you educate the borrower, help them understand that, listen, more things are going to be needed. It's just part of the process today in today's world, then that is what you'll find. So it's either something that's technical where we miss it when it comes through to us. Maybe life gets in the way. We're missing a few pages that we didn't know we're missing. Or once we get it, an underwriter 9 times out of 10 is always going to ask for something. Mm-hmm. And in that case, and I think if that's given to you and that information is delivered to you up front, they have no problem in knowing that that's going to happen. But it's a communication. And as long as the communication there is, we typically don't have any problems. But it happens 80+% of the time.
Yeah, and again, if you actually want that house, it's better to go ahead and get that piece of paper versus arguing over why you need it.
Right, you need it.
Yeah,
and that's a great statement.
Yeah,
that you made. Yeah.
And you had talked about a down payment. I had recently got a Facebook message from a former coworker of mine who said that she had been working on her credit and had some things in order, but doesn't have the 20% required to buy a house.
Right.
And I said, whoa, you don't need 20%.
Neither do I.
Right, yeah, most people don't. But obviously, if you have it, that's great. But I
Right.
think that maybe still a misperception among some people is that you need a big, huge
Yes.
down payment.
Yes.
Where there are a variety of programs where obviously you don't need 20%,
No.
or even sometimes that the reserves to be able to buy a house. Can
Yeah.
you kind of talk about what some of the down payment requirements
Yeah,
are?
and it's a huge misconception. It's constant throughout, even in the going on 16 years I've been in the business. It seems to never go away. And I don't know if that's drilled home by the government or people that might, constantly try to say, well, you shouldn't buy a house unless you have 20% down, and it's just not true. Investors that we work with come up with varied products so that we can make a home buying a reality for people. Conventionally, the reality is you only need 3% on a conventional loan. Now, there's some credit requirements as well, but if we're speaking just to down payments, you're looking at 3% down on a conventional loan, and you can get into a home. FHA is another product that we have. I'm sure many people are familiar with. That's 3.5% down. Now, what you've found in the past is that even 3% sometimes caused a challenge for people, or 5% caused a challenge for people. They have also changed the rules now that any amount of that dollar that needs to be down for that payment can be gifted from parents or relatives. So there is now more ways to buy a home than there has been in the last 10 years. So it's kind of what we've gone through is a restructuring of the mortgage industry from people that didn't do the right things to government getting involved, putting some limitations on that, and realizing that in order to keep the economics of the housing market going, you had to cultivate the buyers that can afford the payment, but just don't have enough money to put down, whether it be student loans and that's what we run into most of the time is, due to the, availability of funds on your first job, you'd love to be in a house instead of renting. So they've created those products. So you're looking at a 3% down minimum conventional purchase, 3.5% down minimum on FHA. There's some USDA products that are 0 down. If you're a veteran, there are 0 down products. So the gamut's wide open.
And over the course of the show, we'll get into some of those specifics about all those different products and what people can get into. A couple of things. So I've got my pre-approval. I've got the house. Tell me some things that I should avoid, like large cash coming in and out of my checking account.
Yep.
Going to Best Buy and buying that 46-inch TV,
which is too small.
Closing.
Well, yeah, I was going to say
things like that.
Was that for the kitchen?
That's for the second. That's for the other one. So just some of the once you're in the
bedroom,
pre-approved, kind of the conservative behavior that you need to go through before you get.
So that's a very good statement. It is very conservative behavior, and I have a specific. It's not final till closing information sheet that I give people, and some of those you definitely don't want to quit your job. Okay, matter of fact, you don't want to really change your job between and there, and a lot of these you'll want to use your mortgage person as a consultative resource. Buying a car, for example, doesn't mean it can't be done, but you should consult with your mortgage professional so that you know. If you do buy that car, it's not going to hinder that pre-approval being null and void now. Because if you've got a $250 car payment and it goes to $400, you might be no longer available for that house. Some of the other things is don't use your credit cards excessively because 10 days prior to the actual closing, they'll pull an update to make sure you didn't go hog wild. And it goes back to the TV again, which again is too small. Don't spend any of the money that you've set aside for the actual down payment. We can see that quite a bit. Once it's verified, we have a pre-approval, and now it's time to close, and you don't have the money left anymore because you've gone and spent the money that you had set aside for that. I wouldn't advise buying electronics or furniture or things like that. We always make a joke, and it's kind of funny, but don't buy a van or a truck that's excessive because you might be living in it. So, large deposits, very, very, very important. Anything over, used to be anything over $1,000, anything over $500 that you deposit into your account. And we have to go back to, let's say, the underwriter needing that statement again, and they have those deposits in there. We're going to have to verify them, and that's where it comes when people get a little upset as well. We've been pre-qualified. We have everything. We've done everything. Well, you deposited $10,000 into your account now because you wanted to put more down. We have to find out where it came from. So no large deposits.
Because you don't want it to be a debt, right? You don't want it to
right,
create
you can't
a
borrow to
$10,000
borrow.
debt.
Very important. You can't borrow to borrow. It'd have to be a gift situation in any situation. You can't go to a credit card and borrow $10,000 from your cash line to put it down on a house. You can borrow towards assets, 401ks and retirement funds, but we have to use those payments in your total debt to income ratios, which again, whole nother show.
Stay tuned.
Don't co-sign for any other loans real quick. And then I think last but not least, again, don't change bank accounts. You don't want to be in midstream with one bank and then having to switch another one. That will all create more.
So pretty much just stay even keel. Don't do anything crazy.
You really, my biggest thing is you stay home, don't do anything until the paperwork is signed and you're moved in. Then go crazy, but don't go crazy. Right? Don't go hog wild and then lose the house as well. That's another whole nother show.
Yeah, it's a totally different show. We've got about 50 seconds left in this show, Aaron. We appreciate you taking the time out to join us.
My pleasure.
Hopefully it's valuable information. You had mentioned being able to apply online. So how can people find you?
You can find me at two different ways. It's aaronvang.com, AARONVANG.com. Click apply now. You can also apply at www.refi with me during the refi market, which we're coming up on some low interest rates. Great opportunity to get a lower interest rate. And that's www.refitwithme.com.
All right, Dave, you got about 15 seconds for the final words.
Everything that you've seen today or heard today will be on our website at TwinCitiesRealEstatePros.com, including a link to Aaron if you have more information there, as well as our YouTube channel, ImperialHomeTeam.tv.
All right, thanks to Aaron, Dave. I'm Ron, all with Remax Advantage Plus.